Hello everybody, my name is Jacob, I like sports. Welcome back to another edition of JK Sports. It's been a very long time, but today I'm going to be giving you guys my first edition of a 1 through 20 NFL mock draft. We all know the draft's coming up in 2 to 3 weeks, so with that being said, I think we all know how this thing's going to start. Trevor Lawrence is going to go 1, no matter what. Unless he loses a limb, Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've known for over a year that whoever gets that first pick is going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's been the best prospect that we've seen since Andrew Luck, and you could argue even beyond that. Easy, no-brainer, number 1. Number 2, I like to think there's more of a question as to who the Jets should take it to. However, the general consensus is that, and who I'm going to take, is Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU. He's a little bit less tested, and coming into a new offense with a new head coach, at least in the first few years, I do believe it's going to be a struggle. They're very limited on weapons. Corey Davis, they signed free agency. Outside of that, they have very, very little weapons. A young building offensive line, a young building defense. And I do think he can easily struggle going in there his first few seasons. However, still, I do believe that that's the right pick, and that's who they are ultimately going to take. So that means really the draft starts at pick 3 and who the 49ers are going to take. There's been a lot of talk, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields. There's been a talk about all 3 of those, and I'm not picking Mac Jones here, and I'm not picking Mac Jones honestly anywhere near this pick, and I, for the life of me, still do not understand why Mac Jones is rated as so highly as he is. I mean, on one hand, I do understand because of how he's intelligent, he places the ball well. However, he doesn't have any athletic ability. He's only really come on the scene this year, and well, I mean, yeah, I could have said the same thing about Tua last year, but he's been surrounded by great weapons, great offensive line, never trailed in the second half of a football game in his Alabama career. So I don't see the love, I don't see the hype that everyone's giving for this man. I think he's I don't think this is debatable. He's a very, very low ceiling. He's a really high floor, which, yeah, is nice, but you don't want that out of your 3rd overall pick in the draft. So, that being said, 3rd overall, I'm going Justin Fields out of Ohio State. I think he's the most dynamic quarterback left. I think he has a great arm. I think he's durable. He's got great running ability. He can make plays off script, which Mac Jones you could never ask him to do. He's purely a pocket passer type guy. Trey Lance is another guy I could go with at this pick here, but again, he's similar to Zach Wilson. He's even less unproven, or even more unproven, the fact that he's played much less games. He sat out all of last season. Might take him some time to adjust back come to football. But I do believe, even if it's Mac Jones in this spot, whoever goes to the 49ers has the highest chance of succeeding out of even Trevor Lawrence, because we have historically not seen the Jaguars be able to produce on the field and be able to go out and get guys. So the fact that the 49ers are so well structured, with John Lynch at GM, Shanahan at head coach, and while they haven't had as much luck recent years, a lot of that's been to do with injury. Garoppolo keeps getting hurt. That's the whole reason why they're moving off him in the first place, as well as he can only do so much, and which is again another reason why I don't see them trading all these pieces to go get a similar, at least mold of a quarterback. Going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Mac Jones, trading up all those pieces, it doesn't make sense to me. I think they need to get a lot more dynamic at the quarterback position. So, that being said, I got Justin Fields going number 3 to them. And number 4 is a very odd pick as well, being that the Atlanta Falcons can do almost anything. They could take a quarterback, they could take any other position on the field really if they wanted to, or they could trade out. Personally, I have them trading out. Now you could say, again, quarterback here could be good to replace Matt Ryan while you can. I say that he's not necessarily the issue as much as he's been what's keeping them afloat. Their offense has done really well. Last year, they were leading. We all remember what happened the first few weeks of the season where they kept blowing leads. They had those leads because of their offense. They had those leads in large part because of Matt Ryan. So I'm having them trade out with the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos coming up and taking Trey Lance. Similar to Justin Fields, he's very dynamic. He can make plays off script. He's got a great arm for someone his size. Again, he is unproven. He did play for North Dakota State, which we saw Carson Wentz come out of a few years ago. Played against lesser competition, as well as he just in general played against less competition. I believe only playing what was it, 17 games? I could have just made that up completely. It's known that he's played a bunch less games against lesser competition. However, the film shows a really talented quarterback with high upside. Coming into this year, before COVID was really a thing, he was rated the QB3 by general consensus amongst most scouts. So I have him going to the Denver Broncos, trading up from 9 to 4. And that takes us to pick number 5, being the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them taking Penei Sewell. Easy. Protect Joe Burrow. They have receivers. They have T. Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd. Go out and get somebody to protect him, protect his blind side. We all saw what happened when when Chase Young got a hold of his kneecap last year, shattered that thing. So protect him. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, pick number 6. And this is more so what I would do. I think this could happen. I do really think this could happen. This is what I would do. I would go tight end Kyle Pitts out of Florida. I think he is the most dynamic. I'm using this word a lot, but I think he's the most dynamic receiver / tight end that you could take. You can put him outside, you can put him inside, you can put him anywhere on the field you have him run almost any routes. And it's much harder to find I'm going to stop using the word dynamic. It's much harder to find a tight end of his quality, of his skill, than it is to find a receiver. We're seeing DK Metcalf go in round 3. We're seeing, what's the guy out of Washington? Terry McLaurin going later in the draft. You can find a good receiver, and the Dolphins could still take a good receiver later on in the draft. There's Terrence Marshall, there's Elijah Moore, there's these other receivers that could end up following the draft that you could end up taking later on, who are still quality guys. But I think Kyle Pitts is somebody who's generational, who looks a lot like Darren Waller, and if he is Darren Waller, that's a top 5 tight end immediately. He's already built up, he has got a good frame, really athletic, did well with the Gators last year. Of course, me being a Gators fan, saw a lot of those games. So I think Dolphins' best odds is to take Kyle Pitts there, which leaves Jamar Chase to fall to the Lions with the very next pick. They just got rid of Matt Stafford, brought in Jared Goff, and they end up also losing Kenny Golladay. All that means is you need somebody to give Goff just a little bit of help. Now, you could go quarterback in this situation. However, the top 4 quarterbacks are all off the board, and Mac Jones, Jared Goff, I don't see much of a difference between the two of them. Pocket guys need everything to go perfect, really can't play off script. So what you do is you get him a receiver to make him feel more comfortable, to be able to have the offense have some sort of legs. You took DeAndre Swift last year, and bringing in a receiver like Jamar Chase or any of the big 3 receivers would really help Jared Goff. Moving on to number 8, who a team that the entire draft process so far, everyone thought that they could have traded up or stayed there and took a quarterback. But I have, now that they've gone on and traded for Sam Darnold, you got to protect the guy. Similar to with the Bengals taking Penei Sewell, I have the Carolina Panthers taking Rashawn Slater. Big guy, can also play inside. He did really well against Chase Young a couple years ago when they played against Ohio State. Some people are arguing he's even better than Penei Sewell. I think that's more so people nitpicking Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell's been undoubtedly the top offensive lineman and a top draft pick. If the Dolphins end up taking Penei Sewell, I'd still be pretty happy. If we end up taking Rashawn Slater, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of a bit of a reach. If you're going to trade back up to 6, bit of reach. However, he's the best offensive lineman still on the board. So Panthers, Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. The Atlanta Falcons, who just traded back from 4 to 9, and well, they really need defense. I just mentioned how Matt Ryan is not the problem in my opinion. And I have him taking cornerback J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. Between him and between Patrick Surtain, it's really splitting hairs. And I have Patrick Surtain going next to the Cowboys. Both 2 teams incredibly need defensive help. They got pretty good offenses. Atlanta has Matt Ryan. The running game they need to situate, but they can probably figure that out later in the draft. They have Calvin Ridley, they have Julio Jones. Dallas Cowboys have Amari Cooper. Last year they drafted CeeDee Lamb. Ezekiel Elliott. They don't need offensive help, which there's a lot of talk of both of those teams taking Kyle Pitts. I thought that would be so sexy and fun to watch. It'll only be sexy and fun to watch when you're losing games like 40 to 34. You know, a loss is still a loss. If you want to win, you gotta build the full team. So I have both those teams taking corners. J.C. Horn to the Falcons, of course, and Patrick Surtain to the Cowboys. That takes us to the New York Giants, and a team who started free agency, I thought they were dead set on taking either receiver or tight end, either maybe trading up or getting lucky that one of them falls. But of course, they went out and got arguably the best receiver that was available in Kenny Golladay, so that's not really needed. They did do decently well in free agency, so on the offensive end of things, they don't really need anybody. So I'm going to have them taking my best player available. Maybe not best player available, maybe the guy next pick might be the best available, but definitely the best defensive player available, being Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. Great middle linebacker, commanding in that defense, and that's what they need. They need somebody to fill in the middle of their defense, someone who can step in there. He has the talent to be a 10-year linebacker, and on offensive end, they've given Daniel Jones no more excuses. It's win or don't, and he'll be replaced. So no need to continue to. They could go offensive lineman. They could go Elijah Vera Tucker. They could go Christian Darrisaw. However, I do have them helping out the defensive side of things. Micah Parsons. Now moving on to the Eagles, who were heavily scrutinized for moving back in the draft. I never really thought it was that bad an idea. They need a lot more than just one position. However, if this mock is what's happening, they are going to look like geniuses, because they're going to be able to get Devontae Smith, receiver out of Alabama, at pick 12. You could have got him at pick 6. You could have got Jamar Chase or maybe Kyle Pitts, either or of those at pick 6. But you decided to trade back and get some extra picks, as well as still getting a top receiver. And some people still say he's the top receiver in this draft. Apparently go forward with Jalen Hurts, and you need to surround him with as much talent as possible. They haven't had good luck in the past few years on drafting receivers. They missed out on both DK Metcalf years back, and last year they missed out on Justin Jefferson. Both years they elected to draft receivers that haven't produced hardly at all so far. So go and get somebody, Devontae Smith, who's the best offensive player left on the board. Arguable between him and Jalen Waddle, who's the number 2 receiver in this draft. My opinion is still Devontae Smith. While he's undersized, incredible route runner. He doesn't drop balls. He's incredibly quick. So I think he's my best receiver. Also, Jalen Waddle did come off that injury. Well, there is injury risk of a 170-pound receiver. I like him as my second best receiver in the draft. That moves us on to the, I almost said San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, going offensive lineman Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. They have decent enough weapons. They have Keenan Allen. They still have Mike Williams. They have both of those. Best offensive lineman available. Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. You got to protect, I almost said Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert, he had an incredible rookie season. Last thing you want is start off the year next year while you're starting to build momentum and he ends up getting hurt. Protect him. Protect his blind side. Continue to build up that team with Darrisaw at offensive lineman. The Vikings, I have my second best defensive player available, that being Kwity Paye, coming off the edge, very quick, great balance. Argue between him and Micah Parsons, who should go first. A lot of people I've seen have Kwity Paye go to the Giants, and Parsons can actually come back and go to the Vikings. I like the pick, Kwity Paye of edge to the Vikings. The next pick is going to be the New England Patriots, and there is definitely an obvious choice that a lot of people would say. Mac Jones follows a similar mold that Tom Brady did. He had a great work ethic. Maybe he was undervalued at times. Now I think he's become undervalued to the point where he's overvalued, where everyone says like, "Oh my gosh, Mac Jones, you gotta get a piece of Mac Jones." I still don't buy that. I don't think he's a first rounder. I mean, quarterbacks who are first or second rounders generally become first rounders, but I don't think he's a first round quarterback. That being said, I think they're just going to stick out with Cam Newton this year, figure it out next year. You can potentially trade for certain quarterbacks or draft a quarterback still. You never know who's going to be great coming into next season's draft. So I got them taking Jalen Waddle, and that's amazing. If Jalen Waddle can fall to 15, get, again, some people's opinion, the best receiver in the draft, someone who could end up being like a Tyreek Hill type player. He's quick, he's athletic. He did have that injury last year. However, he's undoubtedly a top 3 receiver in this draft. If the Patriots can get a hold of him and Cam can just figure out how to make his shoulder work properly, that can be dangerous. And then moving on to the future with whoever their quarterback ends up being, that can be really dangerous having Jalen Waddle there for them with the Patriots. Next, the Arizona Cardinals. Their offense is stacked. they got Nuke, they got Kyler Murray. They just today ended up signing James Conner. They're pretty set on offense. They don't need to go out and draft another offensive skill position, especially after the top 3 receivers and the best tight end are all gone. So I have them going defense with Christian Barrymore out of Alabama, defensive lineman. Their whole defense could use pieces. Defensive line is just one of the issues. Patrick Peterson left in free agency. They need corner help. You could go Caleb Farley here. They need safety help. I do still like Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson that they drafted last year. He's versatile. You can play him anywhere across the board pretty much. So getting somebody to shore up that defensive line, similar to the Christian Wilkins pick a few years ago for the Dolphins, you needed so much on defense. Just take a solid rock. That moves us to the Las Vegas Raiders. And a pattern of theirs recently is taking players out of big schools. First round, they always seem to be drafting Clemson, Alabama in recent years. So I have them following suit and taking the linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. It's the first time I've ever said his name out loud. I think I got it right. Personally, I don't know a lot about him. Not even gonna lie. Just know he's a linebacker out of Notre Dame. Friend Andrew loves the guy. So, and just like I said, just the fact that he's from a big school, and I really do truly think that's how they're thinking right now. Taking Pharrell incredibly high 2 years ago, and he hasn't panned out. They need help almost across the board. They're good, but not great at a lot of things. So taking linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame just seems to make a lot of sense to me. And that brings us to the Dolphins pick. And a lot of people are wanting us to take Najee Harris here. I'd lean towards, I don't think there's going to be a running back taken in the first round. I think there's a lot of good teams who have needs. A lot of good teams are paying a lot of good players. And you don't want to fill, or you don't want to take a running back with one of those first round picks. Because with the first round, you get that 5th-year option. So you don't have to pay somebody decent money till their 6th season. Their 6th season is the first year. If they end up panning out, their 6th year in the NFL is the first year where you really got to pay them. I just don't, a lot of these good teams have holes, so I don't see a running back being taken this first round. That being said, I have them looking at a hometown kid. Jalen Phillips from University of Miami, coming to Miami, had an incredible pro day, especially separated himself from Gregory Rousseau, who struggled at his pro day, showed balance issues, quickness issues, which, yeah, it's a pro day, but there's certain drills where you're expected to excel at, as the cone drill where you're running around the circles. Dude was tripping, falling all over the place. So out of Miami, I prefer Jalen Phillips over Gregory Rousseau for the Dolphins. And maybe we get somebody, maybe Najee falls to 36. If Najee falls to 36, that would be outstanding. I probably like Javonte Williams as my 2nd best running back. A lot of people compare him to Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb. If we could get every down back who has also some ability in the passing game, which I think Najee Harris, of course, does better. But even if we get Javonte Williams or Javonte Carter, there's 2 of them that go to North Carolina. I confuse their last names. If you get him, either of those 2 at 36, I would be really happy. So here, I got us helping defense. We just lost Shaq Lawson, who wasn't the best for us. However, he's still a good player. So we got Ogba on one side, then Ginkle helping on the outside. Go help out that other edge. Draft Jalen Phillips. That takes us to pick number 19, being the Washington football team. Still haven't actually came out with a name yet, and they're taking, for me, they don't need a lot. That defense is pretty set up to help carry that team. To help the defense carry their team to the defense into the playoffs last year. So I have them helping out Ryan Fitzpatrick, or whatever the other guy's name is, I already forgot. Whoever their quarterback ends up being next year, I have them taking Elijah Moore as my 4th best receiver out of Ole Miss to help Fitzpatrick, to help whoever ends up being the quarterback next year. There's argue between Terrence Marshall, Elijah Moore, kid out of Purdue. What's that one guy? The guy from, I think, Arizona State. There's a few guys. The top 3 are pretty secure as who's the top 3 best receivers. The kid from North Carolina also could be after. But for the 4th best receiver, there's no general consensus as to who's the best. It's my personal pick based off film I've seen of him, film I've seen of other players, I really like Elijah Moore as my 4th best receiver off the board. With my last pick of this mock draft, again, I'm just doing picks 1 to 20, we have the Chicago Bears. And I have the Bears taking Mac Jones. Just got done saying he's not a first-round quarterback. It just got done saying I don't believe in him. But at the end of the day, he's definitely better, or definitely going to be better off for the Bears than Andy Dalton. Bears fans have a very stale taste in their mouth after trying so hard to get Russell Wilson and failing, and end up signing Andy Dalton, tweeting out QB1, and it just does not feel right. They did tell Andy Dalton that he's going to be the starter week 1. I don't care what an organization says. I never care what an organization says. I care what you show me. And they've shown me in the past where they signed Mike Glennon, brought him to the draft party, and then traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky. I don't care what teams tell me. If you say you're my quarterback, yeah, you're my quarterback today. Tomorrow can be a completely different story. And that being said, I do have him taking Mac Jones. While he is limited, while he's not that athletic, he does place the ball well. He's good. Got good accuracy. Got good leadership skills. I really like his personality. That's the one thing I will give him credit for. Is I really like his personality. He seems almost addicted to football from the footage I've seen of him in his off-season work. He's got such a positive mindset of getting better. He realizes the sciences behind his body and getting better, and I really respect that. I do think that can only go so far, but I do respect that. And I do think he has a chance at least being a good quarterback. If he didn't go here to the Bears, I mean, obviously, there's still a chance of him going 3rd overall, which baffles me that he could somehow go third in the NFL draft. I've been arguing with people for the past couple months, them trying to tell me he's the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. I don't know. What happened to Justin Fields? What happened to Justin Fields? Nobody loves him anymore. He had a bad game against Northwestern. I get that. Wasn't the best. He has had a few iffy games. But you guys see that semifinal? 5 touchdowns? Absolutely slinging it? Did everybody just forget about that and just remember the Northwestern game? Is that what happened? In the second biggest game of the year being the semifinal game, he balled out. Mac Jones has never trailed in the second half. Has been bailed out by defenses, been bailed out by amazing receivers, has been bailed out by a stacked offensive lineman. But he's better than Justin Fields. He's better than Trey Lance. I don't know, he's better than Kellen Moore. Or Kellen Mond, whatever his name is. I don't know if he's better than him. Talent-wise, I don't think he's better. I think Kellen Mond definitely has some holes he needs to fill in his game, and he could end up being like a Jalen Hurts guy where hopefully he can develop into an elite quarterback. That is the safety net of drafting Mac Jones, is that he should only be so bad. Like, he isn't actually trash. He's not actually trash. But he's only so good. There's a very fun, a lot of people, like, yeah, their floor might be really low, but their ceiling is really high. It's not that big of a gap, I think, for his ceiling and his floor. I know I'm kind of trashing on the guy right now. I'm just kind of pissed off based off how much I've seen people hype this guy up for. I just don't believe in him for an NFL quarterback. Oh, man. People saying that he's better than Tua. I understand the Tua hate. I do. He didn't perform well enough last year to be guaranteed as the Miami Dolphins quarterback for the next decade. I get that. But the guy's athletic. Pretty much all the same things you'll say good about Mac Jones, you can say about Tua. He's accurate. He has a good enough arm, but neither have great arms, but they both have good enough arms. And if you look at Tua with the Alabama team, if you look at Mac Jones with the Alabama team, which is truly the fair comparison, because that Miami Dolphins team was very limited in weapons, especially towards the end of the year, last year. You look at them with Alabama teams, I don't think there's a question that Tua is the better quarterback at all. I don't even get how it's a debate. But I do understand why there's question marks about him. But if you're going to have those question marks, he outplayed somebody who comes from the same exact school, but everybody's crying that he's the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Same people that are hating on Tua are saying that Mac Jones is the third best quarterback in the draft. I don't get it. I really don't get it, but he has to go somewhere. And he's going to go in the first round. Like I got to remind myself, and I got to remind you guys, he's not actually trash. He's not actually trash. But I don't think he's a first-round quarterback. With that being said, I think he's going to the Bears. Bears don't really necessarily draft well anyways at quarterback, so it would just seem to make sense. I hope he works. Andrew, hopefully you're watching this. I hope he works if you guys take him, but I don't think he will. Sorry that turned into a little Mac Jones rant, but thank you guys all very much for watching. My name is Jacob. I like sports. Welcome back to this JK Sports. If you like the video, please subscribe, please share. I really lost some motivation to record videos. While my name is JK Sports, we all know, we've all seen my content is mainly football related. I meant to record something for free agency, but let's be real, I got lazy. So here I am, making this draft video. Maybe making another one. If you guys want to be in a video with mine, I mean, I'm getting my second vaccination shot in 2 weeks. I still have antibodies. Most of you guys know I had COVID. I still have antibodies. I got the first shot. So in a couple weeks time I'm going to get my second shot and I'll be good. So if you guys want to make videos together, if you guys, just any support in the channel, I absolutely love it. But thank you guys very much for watching. My name is Jacob. I like sports. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.